Just in advance, sorry if I sound different, I'm not well. Hello guys, it's 1099 here and welcome to today's video, and today we're going to go through our tips and predictions for round 2 of the 2026 NRL season. And barring a couple of games, they were all kind of one-sided matches, so hopefully we start to see it even out as we go out throughout the season. So yep, let's just jump straight into them. Starting off on Thursday night, we have the Brisbane Broncos taking on the Parramatta Eels. Now, the Broncos are coming off being held to 0 last week in a 26-0 loss to Penrith, whilst Parramatta got belted by the Melbourne Storm in a 52-4 loss. So, not the greatest of starts for both teams, but obviously wanting to change their form going into this. Only real changes is that Jermaine Hopgood is out for the Parramatta Eels, obviously probably following his suspension. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting game to see how it all plays out. I think this will be, I don't know, this realistically should be a game that Brisbane win handily. I mean, you kind of think they would because, I mean, a lot of people have them in pretty high finishing, but I'm going to say, yep, I think that Brisbane should win this game 13+. If they don't, there's some serious issues that need to be addressed. Now we go on to the Friday matches, and at 6 PM we have the New Zealand Warriors taking on the Canberra Raiders. The Warriors are coming off a very decent performance against the Sydney Roosters, who just took their capitalised on all their chances at home, and they take on the Raiders, who were in probably the match of the round against the Manly Seagulls, which went to Golden Point, and Ethan Sanders slots it. So yeah, Canberra get their first win of the season from Golden Point. This game actually should be quite good. Yeah, I think this should be a really good game, quite close. And I'm going to say that I think the Warriors just get it done to kick off their season at 2-0. Now we go to the 8 PM game on the Friday, and it is, of course, it's the biggest rivalry, one of the actual few real rivalries in the NRL. It is the Sydney Roosters taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, the Roosters, as I mentioned in the previous game, are coming off their loss to the Warriors, where discipline was a very problematic issue, whilst the Rabbitohs are coming off their decent win over the Dolphins. This will be an exciting match to see. Apparently, I believe, in terms of rumours, Spencer Leniu is going to be out for a month, so that's going to be quite interesting. But yeah, the Roosters need to clean themselves up if they want to get it done, but obviously with a big important match like a derby, should be quite interesting. I think this will be one of the more closer ones, because I know for the last couple of years we've had a bunch of just blowouts, but I'm going to go with possibly the outsiders in this. I'm going to say that I think the Rabbitohs will get it done, but it should be a really good match. Now we go into the Saturday matches, and at 3 PM we have, well, what can we say? It is the 8th wonder. It is Leichhardt Oval as we see the West Tigers take on the North Queensland Cowboys. Both teams had the weekend off last week with the Tigers because they had the bye in round 1, whilst the Cowboys played 2 weeks ago in Vegas, losing to the Newcastle Knights in a pretty close game. So, a lot of excitement around this Tigers team. I mean, Macassini being one of them, but like, there's just a lot of talent, a lot of people pushing behind this Tigers team to switch on and just do brilliant. I did see him play in the trial. They went quite well against the Roosters, so it's a very interesting time for the Tigers, especially after all that whole boardroom drama in the off-season, but I think they're going to start off well. I think the Tigers will get the win to kick off their season. Now we go on to the 5:30 game as we see the St George Illawarra Dragons take on the Melbourne Storm. Now the Dragons are coming off also being from Vegas, losing in Golden Point to the Bulldogs under quite questionable circumstances, it should be added, whilst the Melbourne Storm are coming down after putting belt to backside on Parramatta. This will be a really interesting game to see where St George stacks up in this, because I feel if they can make it close, it's like, alright, they could definitely make a little bit of a charge this season. I mean, possibly threaten to make the top 8, but Melbourne are going really well. I apparently did hear news that Warbrick's now signed with the Warriors, so that's pretty interesting. And I need to be careful here, because the last time these two teams played, the Dragons won, and there was montages made. I don't want to be a part of that one, but I'm going to say in a game that it'll be closer than people think, I think the Storm will just edge it out. And now we go into the final game on the Saturday, where at 7:35 PM in Bathurst, we have the Penrith Panthers taking on the Cronulla Sharks. Now, the Panthers are coming off just a brilliant 80-minute performance in their 26-0 win over the Brisbane Broncos, whilst the Cronulla Sharks are coming off a pretty decent display against the Gold Coast Titans. I think it was 50 points to 10. So this match is actually third versus second. So this should be a quite interesting game. I feel like for the last couple of bits, the Sharks have just been like one of the top teams, but for some reason they don't have the respect of them because no one really sees them doing too much. And if they win this match, this could be quite an interesting thing to happen. But yeah, I think this will be quite close somewhat, but I have to give it to Penrith to take the win here. And now we go into the Sunday games. We're at 4:05 p.m. at Brookvale Oval, which is one of the few grounds which I think is very acceptable for a Sunday afternoon kickoff. It is the Manly Sea Eagles taking on the Newcastle Knights. Now, Manly are coming off their Golden Point loss to Canberra last week, while the Knights are coming off with a week off following their win in Vegas over the North Queensland Cowboys. In terms of team news, Fletcher Sharp is out, but thankfully it's not as long as a lot of people thought, because people thought it was an ACL issue, but it wasn't as bad as people thought, so should be alright. So Sandon Smith will be starting in at 6 with Brand at 7. I think this should be quite an interesting game to see how the Knights do go, especially away from home, and it's also against, to some people, this is still a rivalry because they're unks. But who do I think will win this? Fuck it, Knights win. I think this will be a pretty close game, but if they can get the win, go 2-0 before they go against the Warriors in Newcastle, be good to see. And finally, to close out the round at 6:15 p.m, we have the Dolphins taking on the Gold Coast Titans. Now, the Dolphins still scored a decent amount of points, but South just were a lot better in their game to kick off the season, whilst the Titans were just outmatched by the Sharks in a very serious way, conceding 50. I feel this match will probably be like, alright, the Dolphins now need to switch on here and get it done. But I feel like this game could get a little bit closer than people suspect. Like, I'm not expecting the Dolphins to put complete belt to ass, but in a perspective way, they might. But I think this will be a little bit closer than people think, but I do believe that the Dolphins will be strong enough to get the job done. And those are my tips. Thank you all very much for watching. Who do you guys? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all later.